Hey everybody, my name's Brett Savage, and for my 4-week Vision Tech project, I decided to make a collaboration with Flash and Adobe Photoshop to kind of make this Sprite Brawl thing. As you can see right here, in the kind of top right, basically you just make the animations in Photoshop and make them move with Flash, and boom, you got an animation. It's very tedious work. You kind of have to get the feel for both applications in order to make it happen. My goal for making this was to get myself more familiar with Flash and more familiar with Photoshop. It's kind of kill two birds with one stone thing. And I always just wanted to make a sprite fight like you see on YouTube. So let's start out with the plan I made. And as you can see, it's pretty vague. I kind of made up the project as I went along. Found new sprite sheets, I'll explain those in a minute. Just basically make progress, then polish it, then add sound, finish project, make the how-to video. Rejoice. Didn't have much time to rejoice after I finished it. I think it turned out pretty well for only my second project in Adobe Flash so far, and my first one using sprites. Here you see a sprite sheet. Now what a sprite is it's a set image that you use in a game or comic or even movie if you wanted to make a 2D movie. And a sprite sheet is a transparent plane of all these set images on here. As you can see, this one's of him running. Just it moves a little bit from right here to right here to right here, blah blah blah, etc. etc. And basically you can highlight all this stuff right here if you wanted to make him running. Just do a little minor running animation right here. You can, and what I just did was I used this tool to drag and highlight the area around it, drag this, and since it's transparent, it highlighted the edges of the images right here. So I can copy that, and I can delete it if I want to, but I really don't want to. Name this, just link running. It automatically sets to pixels for you. Makes it really convenient so that you don't have to stress yourself out with measuring pixels or whatnot. Zoom in. Now with Photoshop and Flash, they're both laid out differently, but they both are based upon layers. Now what layers are basically just kind of different, I guess you could say, set planes that you can edit on. See right here's layer 1, this is where all the stuff is. If you drag and select this, move it, it does the same thing, highlights the edges, copy that, delete it, paste it, it pastes it onto a different layer, layer 2. As you can see, this layer goes in front of the others. Drag this layer down below layer 1, it goes behind. That's how it works. So you want it in front for this. I'm going to select my thingamabobber. Oh, that's on layer 2 still. You cannot highlight and drag it on layer 2 because it'll say your area is empty because it's a different transparent plane. So you want to get this, drag it, copy, delete, go to layer 2, paste, might go to move this over for room, and you move this right on top of the other one. I generally use their head as a center point kinda for their bodies because I want the torso and the arms and the legs to move, but not the head as much, because if you make the head move a lot, it makes it really jumpy, really kinda cracky, and it's weird and doesn't look good. You basically do this a million trillion times until you get all of these set into one area on different layers. Then for time's sake, I am not going to do this right now, but you can save it into a PSD, which I can reach right here. For example, this one is, well, that's a singular one, never mind. Don't save. Let's look at 0 dash. This is a different character I used. But as you can see right here are the different layers with different positions he has. This one's the beginning where he starts to dash, that one, and then right here's where he's dashing. He just has the different kind of like booster sizes and hair flow. So those are PSDs, and what you can do with them, you can upload them to Flash, and this is a different thing I showed in my last tutorial, which was an amazing failure. Kept messing up so much, but we don't need those. Bye bye. Alright, so this is Flash. This is what the layout looks like. You can have different layouts based on your preferences, based on if you're an animator. It really doesn't matter. It's just what you're familiar with. But you can change the size of the stage. Excuse me, to whatever you want. You can change the width, the height to whatever you desire. Just going to set it at 422 and 425. And it's Adobe based on layers, you know, stuff like that. You can make different layers using this. And, you know, the top layers show up before the bottom layer. I said that before. And what these are, they're called frames, the ones I'm highlighting right now. These are empty frames, which means that there's no subject, there's nothing in there at this time. Now, if I were to go up to here and right click and remove these frames, it's just completely empty. There's no frames there. It's just singular markers where the frames should be that mark the frame rate, which is right here. And the frame rate is how many frames are per second. How many frames this little thing will go through per second. So you can count about 1 second and it'll go through about right here. And that's how many frames per second there are. Right now I'm going to teach you guys how to move an object. Now, if you click on this little keyframe right here, they're the ones with the circles in them. I can create a new one. This one's going to be blank too because it's created based upon a blank frame area. So you have a keyframe right here, a keyframe right here. Keyframes allow you to create objects, and you see it turned a different shade right here. I don't know why it's highlighting to red, but it is. See, when I don't highlight it, it turns back to white. But all this is filled, and then this blank stuff right here, it just disappears. And that's where we're going to start. If we create one down here, it's going to change position from right there to right there. Now, and I forgot to mention, right here where it pops out, if you export it, it's not going to show up on the screen because the white part is where all the objects and animations show up, and not the outside right here. Since it moves from right here to right here, you have options to make it move. You can create motion tween, shape tween, and classic tween. Now, for now, I'm not going to explain these. I'll do that maybe in a later project someday. I'm going to create a classic tween right here, and what it's going to do, it's just going to smoothly move it from the point right here where I created it to a point right here where I created it. So it's going to move from right there to right there in that amount of frames. Insert keyframe. Oops. Insert keyframe. You can move this once again. You can pretty much just make a chain of movement. Create classic tween. You can make it look like it's going off there and onto there. It's just a really neat trick, and that I just used classic tweens throughout my entire Sprite project. As you can see right here. Don't save. As I have many layers that's essential for a bigger project like this. But this guy right here, he's moving from there to right here, from there to right here, and standing. And that's just basically what a shape tween does. And if you didn't make a shape tween and still had him running, he wouldn't have switched places. So yeah, that's basically almost everything I did. Just made a bunch of PSDs from sprite sheets and put them into Flash, put a background, and made them dual, fight, brawl, whatever, however you want to say it. And that's just basically my entire project. And what I learned from this, I learned that you should probably have a plan, at least a detailed plan beforehand, and not a vague one like mine did. Because I could have had a lot more done with my project if I just planned it out and followed my plan instead of just kind of working along the way and making up things as I go. So without further ado, here is my project.
Huh? Yay!
Basically, from this project, I learned that planning is extremely vital to doing stuff with long-term projects. Like, for example, Adobe Flash. It's very time-consuming, very tedious, and if you don't have a plan, you are not going to, let's say, have a good time with it. I just made up my plan along the way, and I still had fun, but if I actually had a decent plan at the beginning, then I would have made a lot better project. Problem solving was also very important to this. I learned probably majority of the new things I've learned for this project from problem solving and figuring things out on my own, and maybe a tutorial or two on YouTube. If I were to go back and do it differently now, I'd apply all the things that I know now and redo my projects from scratch, and I think that I would have gotten a little bit of a better result. And honestly, the most successful part of my project was when I finished it, because you don't ever get a feeling like when you finish a Flash animation. It's over, and you did a lot of work on it, and it feels great to finish it and be happy with your end result. So that's my Vision Tech project. I hope you guys liked it.